Hello and welcome to the Scottish Football Show. We're going to talk about St Mirren. They're still undefeated because they beat title rivals Motherwell this weekend. We're going to be joined by Buddy's boss Stephen Robinson. It's the final countdown as our clubs prepare for the group stage action in Europe and Inverness Caledonian Thistle. Inverness part ways with Billy Dodds after a horror start to the season. It's an intercontinental episode this week. We've had a few of them, to be fair. Finn, hello, how are you, pal? You're in Australia. G'day.
Thanks very much, yeah. Good morning to you. How are you going?
Not bad. I'm not going to attempt the accent of where I'm from, where I am right now, because I am in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, having a ball of a time. Laura, where are you this week?
Oh, I'm just in boring London. I'm the European representative this week, as usual. So not as glamorous as the two of you, but I'm still here, still rooted down in the good old UK.
Excellent, excellent. Well, shukran to both of you. Just thank you in Arabic. See, learn something. And maybe you've learned something too. Now, you won't learn anything more in the next half hour in this podcast, but at least tell me some funnies, guys. What have you seen over the weekend? Because I'm just up to my neck in Saudi football, really. So tell me what's been going on in Scotland.
Well, my favourite bit to the weekend, I don't know how many people saw this, was a rather nice wee thing. But head tennis going on between the Hamilton Accies and Alloa fans at the weekend. I just thought that was quite nice to see. You know, you usually used to seeing the home support in the away end kind of, you know, like going like this to each other and like pointing each other out. I just thought that was quite sweet. A game of Hades.
While we're on Accies, do you want the latest instalment in Hamilton Accies social media?
Yes, please.
Car crack?
Can we? I feel like this is actually a segment of the show that is going to be so recurring this season. It needs its own sting, so I'll try and insert a Hamilton Accies sting right here.
What the hell is going on at Hamilton Accies this week?
There we go, Laura. Go for it.
Yeah. So the other day, you've maybe seen like when clubs are maybe like it's an international break or something and they'll tweet out, say, you know, get down to the local like juniors game or something this weekend to a team nearby. But Hamilton did it the other day, saying to all our Clyde followers, get yourself along to support them in their next game. And it was East Fife against Clyde on the same day at the same time that Hamilton were at home to Alloa. So they were actively trying to encourage their fans to go to another team's game.
You couple of fannies.
This is just the club that just keeps giving just now.
Bloody hell. That is amazing. I did see that. That was really, really funny.
Did you see Gary Caldwell's at it again with these mental training regimes? So I don't remember.
How is this a training regime, by the way? You need to take us through this, Laura, because I've never seen anything like this.
Well, I remember when I remember his SAS thing
at Partick Thistle, right?
Where they kidnapped the squad, and one of the players ended up like crying and stuff like that. So what's happened now? What's he doing?
Yeah, it's not as extreme as that, but it actually looks quite fun. I think it's a TikTok trend. I've seen a few TikToks doing it. So it's like you get like kind of like hula hoops, and they're all on the ground, and you get 4x4 basically rows of these hula hoops, and one player goes first, and it's a certain song that's been played, and they're jumping, kind of dancing along the hoops. And then as they get to like the second row, another player comes in, and the idea is they're all kind of crisscrossing over each other in the beat to the song. It's all very well coordinated. It's actually quite addictive to watch. It's quite, it really draws you in, but and it kind of makes me want to try it myself. Like a lot of the comments were like, "What's the point in this?" And I think some of the replies were just saying, "Well, coordination, teamwork, morale."
Okay.
Like fair play. Like it looked like a good laugh. If the office did it for me, I would get involved in it.
My two favourite things from the clip, one is because it's mostly for, I seek it out, maybe we can retweet it or whatever, but my two favourite bits, the first one is it's mostly trained on the players, you know, jumping through the hoops and doing all that. There's one bit where it pans round to a guy on the side and he gives a look to the camera that's a bit like, you know, Jim from The American Office, which is just kind of like looking back into the camera, just like, what is going on here? So there's that. But then there's also, I don't know who the players are because it's Exeter City, right? So I don't know any of the players. But there's, bless him, one guy that's basically trying to get everybody clapping, going like that. And nobody joins in with him, so he's just standing, clapping, waiting for his turn to join the line. It's a little bit sad, but it looked like they all had fun. So, you know, even if it's got absolutely nothing to do with concentration or movement, they had a good time, and that's the main thing, Gary.
It looked a lot more fun than being kidnapped by the army.
Well, there is that. I guess he's progressing as a coach. I wonder where he's getting his ideas off of TikTok. Oh, Gary.
The dogs bark and the caravan passes. The caravan keeps moving. The caravan keeps going.
Some news then. Shall we talk about Billy Dodds getting the old tin tack at ICT, the old Inverness Caledonian Thistle? Barry Wilson has also left. Was it 838 days in charge? He was the 9th longest serving manager in the SPFL, and the 3rd manager to leave his post this season. It's sack season.
Like this doesn't really come as a surprise because they're on an absolutely horrendous run. The only points they've picked up, I say points, the only points and victory they've actually picked up so far is the very first game of the season, and it was in the League Cup, and that was a 2-1 win at home to Bonnyrigg Rose. They have since went on to lose every single game bar their one each draw with Dunfermline. It's just not been good enough. You look back on last season as well. Yes, they did pick up some sort of form around the kind of March, April time, which kind of looked like they were kind of pulling themselves back into maybe not quite the title race, but definitely the promotional battle. But they didn't do enough in the end. And finishing 6th last season in what was such a tight league and everyone had a chance, it's just not good enough for a team of Caledonian Thistle. They should be challenging to kind of be around that area of promotion. Like, you never, it's like unfortunate to see them go and stuff, and like they've done well up there, and they will have a legacy up there, but it's just not, it's not a surprise.
I know Inverness last season came out with some financial issues as well that they were posting, and then they did go on that amazing cup run as well. You kind of thought that maybe that would have bought Billy more time, but you know, he had a good stint there. I always wonder when clubs make these big dramatic changes, is what do you want? Like, what more do you want? And an Inverness fan would probably be able to tell me that maybe the football wasn't good enough and the signings weren't good enough either as well. But
they have had other issues, I think, over the last couple of seasons. Sometimes it's just, you know, football's cyclical. Sometimes you just need a bit of a change, a bit of a freshening up. Like you say, he's been there for a number of years now. I think they've done a great job at Caledonian Thistle as well, and they're a club that don't tend to, you know, go through managers terribly quickly. They do tend to stick with the teams that they've got and give them time. I remember it was around about Christmas last season. I remember there being a pretty tough period. Just the amount of injuries that they had in their squad, and their league form was faltering. I remember there was it Hamilton? I think they played back to back over the course of a week, once in the league and once in the SPFL Trust Trophy, and they basically said to fans, because you know how big the round trip is, was it about 400 miles odd down to Hamilton and back? They were saying, like, we don't have enough full-time players. I think they actually cited a lack of assistance from the SPFL, which is, you know, a surprise, I'm sure, to everybody. But they had to field essentially school kids. That's what they said. They were like, a lot of the team that's playing in these matches, which they ended up losing both of them, are still in school. And I think they had a couple of heavy defeats round about that time as well. I think round about Christmas time, Partick Thistle battered them in the league. So they've not had their problems to seek. And like you're saying, Laura, like the start to the season's just been rank. And I think when you do look historically at where they've been over the last number of years, because they were doing quite well under John Robertson. I think he left because of personal issues. I think the COVID season and stuff had been quite hard on him, and other personal issues. Neil McCann did that job, coming in just to kind of steady it for a little while, and then Billy Dodds came in. But you look at their last couple of seasons of finishes, they were 6th last year, but the years before that it's been like 3rd, 5th, 2nd, 3rd, 5th. You know, they're always kind of the top half, if not pushing for the title in the championship. And I think the fact that they were 6th last season and they're rock bottom this season, it's something's really not going well there right now.
Yeah. Well, I hope Billy Dodds gets back into management anyway. I think he's a good face for Scottish football. News on the Euro 2028. I know we're hoping to qualify for the Euros coming up, but there was a wee bit of rumour. I don't know if this is confirmed yet or not, but about Euro 2028, and obviously the UK, what is it like? Scotland, Wales, Ireland, and England have all kind of band together to try and be the host nation for Euro 2028. But the news, yeah, Laura's not a fan of it at all. But the news was that because there are so many nations involved as trying to be the host, that it looks like all clubs will have to still play qualifiers. There will not be an automatic.
Are you surprised?
Well, no, not really. It actually makes a lot of sense. However, the kind of the carrot involved that people need to realise is that 2 automatic spots will still be held for a host nation that fails to qualify.
Yeah,
but that means that, if Scotland, Ireland, Wales don't qualify, who's going to miss out?
That's the thing. Exactly, that's the thing. There's still going to be teams that miss out. This just feels like a safety net they've put in place to make sure that England make it to England's tournament. They don't care about having Scotland automatically
Hold on, that's
qualified.
one hell of a twist straight away. My goodness.
Come on. This is a
straight
Team
away
GB
you've gone,
bid,
this is all about
and
England.
It is all about England. They're going to host the majority of the games.
So,
you
why
cannot
would
say
why would they put 2 automatic spots to protect England?
yes.
No, to make sure Scotland and Wales and Ireland probably qualify. I think because England will qualify anyway.
I know they will,
Of course,
but it's a
England will
safety
qualify.
net.
Yeah.
It's a safety net, because imagine if they didn't. Imagine the scenario that they didn't, and then they had to host the tournament.
Laura, do you remember when they
organisers
kicked them out of major competitions?
No, that would have been a great time to be alive. No, I think there's everything about this tournament I hate so much, and to be honest, I'm not. It's just awful right from the very start. I just want Turkey to be awarded this and all of it to be over.
I've had a great idea. If England don't qualify, they don't get an automatic spot. That would be funny.
I have nothing against England hosting this tournament themselves. They can host it themselves. They have all the stadiums, the infrastructure, the size of country. They can do this alone. They don't need all the other countries to do it with them. It is, for me, it's just a political statement, and it is embarrassing, and I don't want to be part of it or anywhere near it. Just give it to Turkey, please.
Turkey, yay, to be exact. Well, let's just stick with England here, guys, because in the last podcast, I suppose we need to backtrack a little bit, because the whole headline surrounding Elliot Anderson maybe actually seemed to be true. Maybe he does rather want to position himself closer to England, or at least leave his options open. So we basically said, Elliot Anderson, we were interested to see if he might play. He's obviously eligible for England, but he had chosen Scotland, and then in the kind of last hour, he pulled out of the camp. It looks like Steve Clarke ain't going to be interested to have him back anyway, if this is the kind of way, because that's what Steve Clarke wants to focus on, is players that want to stay in the camp and even experience it, just to be part of the whole squad team set up, the whole shebang.
We do not know the ins and outs of everything. No one has really kind of said much, apart from it was Scott Burns, the journalist, who wrote the headline that came in for a lot of criticism, hinting that he didn't drop out through injury. And there we were on the show last week, and I think the week before, when we were talking about him, giving him the benefit of the doubt. Me of all people giving him the benefit of the doubt, saying, look, he's just injured. He's made his decision. Turns out he hadn't made his decision, and it appears that he's having second thoughts. And if that's the case, look, fair play to him. He's got out, and he's set his stall out early. He's going with his heart, and absolutely no issues with that whatsoever. Good luck to the boy. I hope he fulfills his potential and his dreams. Just don't come crawling back to Scotland, please, once you can't get your call-ups to England. It's as simple as that.
Just off the back of 2 big Laura rants about the England national team, we don't have to talk about the game, obviously, for
yes,
very apparent
reasons.
But I feel it would be remiss if we didn't mention a certain part of that game, the tifo. It looked amazing, Laura. Congrats.
Well done, Laura. Great team effort.
It was
Thank
it
you.
was super cool watching it happen with the teams lining up in front and the 150 behind them with Hampden belting out Flower of Scotland, and
It was
looking
awesome.
at it being like, as my
Yeah.
pal that helped make that. It was really cool.
Yeah,
So well done.
we had the banner underneath as well. I think in hindsight the banner was a wee bit small, so I don't know how obvious it was on TV, but it looked cool when it was there. It was because obviously it said 150 in the stand, and it said on the banner, "Years of history, rivalry, and passion," which we thought were quite good words to kind of sum up not just Scotland's history, but also the old enemy derby as well that we were playing. So yeah, we pulled it off, and hopefully by the time Norway come in the last game, we can go bigger and better. And I'm hoping that by that point we'll have clinched it, because it really just depends on the positioning of the team, what the message is, and what the theme of it is. And we really want it just to be a celebration of qualification rather than a final push to the team itself.
We can't be having that, mate. You better get your finger out all right and make sure that you get the results.
A massive week in Europe for our Scottish teams. Celtic, Rangers and Aberdeen obviously in action midweek. Celtic kick things off, don't they, against Feyenoord on Tuesday night. So by the time this is out or anyone's listening to it, it will be 4-0 to Feyenoord. Something like that. Probably.
Positive mental attitude, Andrew. Come on.
Well, I just like to always go negative, because then if it's a positive result, everyone can be happy, apart from Rangers fans, because they just don't like seeing Celtic do well in any stage. And that flip-flops all the time. But it'll be a tough game for Celtic. I have no doubt about it. I don't know what you guys think, but Feyenoord were in good form at the weekend, 6-1 against Heerenveen, which I always like to say. It's just not going to be easy for Celtic. And I think Celtic are kind of don't know if you agree, but I think under Brendan Rodgers, even with the squad that has won a treble this season, I think they're an unknown quantity right now. I don't think anyone knows how good they're really going to be. Agree? Disagree?
I think I think they're a shadow of the side that they were last season, despite having most of the same squad. I don't think Rodgers knows his best team in there. It just doesn't seem to be the same fluency. I think when you also factor in historically how poor Celtic are away from home in Europe, I don't think they've won a game potentially since 1967 away in Europe. So it could be, I think it could be a long old night on Tuesday. I really fear for Aberdeen going to Germany.
Skipping ahead to Thursday, are you?
I calm down, Finn.
It's a hell of a. I just thought while we're on the misery train,
Finn's on one of his Laura. Finn's on one of his other rants. He's going to rattle through it.
On a roll, pulling through the stations at the Depression Parkway and Misery Central. But I think Aberdeen will lose. I just hope it's not by a lot. I think it'll be a really tough night, and I think Celtic will really struggle as well. Rangers, I'm not so sure about. I mean, they're playing dreadfully, but at least they're at home, which I think is a bit of an advantage. And I think
the big one from the weekend though is Danilo. Rangers missing out on him. That's going to be a massive loss.
Yeah, huge. And it's a fractured cheekbone, so I think it will be a number of weeks that he's out. Although the one positive whenever a player fractures their cheekbone, and it's never a nice thing, is a lot of time they come back wearing the Phantom of the Opera mask, and I just love seeing a player come out in a Phantom of the Opera mask. So fingers crossed he gets back for some of the group games and he's sporting that. But Rangers might have a bit more of a shout. Betis got hammered at the weekend. They lost to Barcelona 5-0. And they're sitting. I think that's why. I
think that's why they're about to sign. Was it mates of mine call him Paella David De Gea? Is supposed to be going to Real Betis, so that could be he's still a top class goalkeeper. But yeah, they got.
He is, but would he make it in time for the European?
Well,
squad?
yeah, that's right. That's a good
submitted,
point.
So.
Yeah, he wouldn't be part of the squad. You're right.
I think there'll be goals in the Rangers Betis game. It's just who gets them in at the right end. I think it could be a tough old week, and I think I'll be saying that 6 more times.
A tough old week, Finney.
Oh, miserable. Come on.
Misery.
Come on. I think Rangers have got a good chance here. Like, Real Betis is not the challenge that they could have been. They're struggling. They've been shipping a lot
Have
of
you
goals.
watched any of Rangers this season so far?
But they're at home.
Been turgid.
It's European night at Ibrox. It's going to be a great atmosphere and things like that. That can pull them through. I've got my hope is on Rangers. Celtic, I don't really know what to expect from that one. It'll be difficult, but I think Celtic can always surprise even in difficult games. Aberdeen game, I think I'm right on that train with you, Finn. This is going to be a very, very difficult game away to Eintracht Frankfurt. They've started their Conference League campaign on the hardest match. This is a team that
Rangers so they still don't have a win. They still don't have a win this season.
This is the thing. They're playing against a team that is they won the Europa League just over a year ago. You flip it to Aberdeen, they are struggling so much. Still without a win. They've only scored 3 goals since the start of the season. Barry Robson is under pressure, with whatever way you want to look at it. I mean, we were singing his praises so much when they went on this great run when he first took over, and it is just completely tables turned. Exactly. Like he's complained about. It's a very different team this season. And yes, they take time to bed in. They've not had the luxury of the League Cup this season to get the players bedded in together as one unit. So they've maybe had that challenge because instead of the League Cup games, they've had Europe, the pressure of Europe as well. It's a difficult time because there's instant pressure and the players don't have time to make mistakes. And it's the same old complaint we always have every summer. And that's what he's suffering from. And that's when you've kind of got to ask questions. On one hand, how long does he get? On the other, he's just changed his entire squad. He's in the group stages until Christmas of Europe. Surely you need to give him that chance.
Well, I said this last week or 2 weeks ago. The pressure that happens after a European campaign. Is it a good thing for clubs? To look at Hearts, ended up losing Robbie Neilson because of a bad run. After I don't put it down to fatigue or whatever, it just adds more pressure because expectation becomes higher.
Football, bloody hell.
It's been an excellent start to the season for both Motherwell and St Mirren. Two sides still sitting top end of the table. They split, Celtic and Rangers. The pair went head-to-head at the weekend, and it was the Paisley side who came away still undefeated and are up to second in the Premiership. But his boss, Stephen Robinson, we're delighted to say, spoke to Laura and Finn. I was not there.
Stephen, thanks for joining us first and foremost. You always say you don't get too low when results are bad, you don't get too high when results are good, but surely you must have sat down on Saturday night with a wine and felt pretty damn happy after that result.
I definitely sat down with a wine, yeah. I'm very happy about the result. We didn't play particularly well. Arguably our worst performance of the season. So as a manager, you're very happy with the result, but you're constantly thinking, why didn't we play well? Did I give them too many days off over the international break? Did we work in the things we should have worked? Did we pick the right team? We had a lot of international boys away, traveling far away places, Kazakhstan and Gogos in Spain. Some of the boys were in Dallas with Australia. So it was, even though you win, you're still trying to pick holes in what you've done and trying to see if you can get it right and 100% right. But you want everything, a perfect performance and the perfect result. So, but we're doing okay at the moment. So we'll take the 3 points.
It's been actually a pretty formidable start to the season for you because the opening League Cup game aside, away at Montrose, it's been a pretty flawless start to the season almost from
you had to bring up Montrose. You had to mention Montrose. I forgot about that. Well, I put that in the back of my mind. So
I was going to caveat that by saying already so early in the season you've played Motherwell twice and beaten them twice, so that must be quite a nice feeling for you. Obviously, with your kind of connections to the club, it's a club you know well. But you've got to be happy with the way that the team started the season, not just with the home form, which was pretty good last season as well, but you look to be matching that with the away form this season a bit as well. What's kind of been the change there?
I think the biggest difference, we looked at all the stats last year. Our away form wasn't good enough. We literally got into the top 6 based on our home form, and we looked at lots of things. And sometimes there's things you can control. We played a lot of the games with 10 men. I think it was 6 out of the away games we played with 10 men. So things like that you can't really control with decisions. If it's for dissent or something like that, then you can. But the decisions were, getting sent off for second yellow cards, handballs, little tugs. we also didn't defend crosses as well away from home when we look statistically, but we actually created a lot more chances. We had more possession of the ball and we created more chances. So there's a lot of anomalies in the statistics. For me, probably the biggest change, we've changed the system slightly to a 3-4-3. That I say that we went to 3-5-2 at stages on Saturday as well. But I think we've brought in more attacking players. We've got more of an attacking threat than we did last year. I thought we were quite robotic at times. When we lost Ethan Urahan at Christmas, we became a little bit straight line football, and there wasn't enough patience and ownership of the game. So I think we've rectified that. As I said, we've brought in more options in the game yesterday. I was able to bring in 3 strikers, change 3 strikers, during the game, change 2 centre halves. So I think we've got more options. Still the same number of people in the squad, but I believe we've now got 17, 18 first team players as opposed to maybe 13 and 14 last year. So sometimes a little bit of luck as well. Sometimes luck goes your way, and it did yesterday. Luck did go our way. So Lady Luck shining on us at the moment. So long may that continue. So I don't think it's a magical tactical wand that we've waved that's made a whole lot of difference. It's just small things have gone our way.
When things aren't going your way and you're talking about that bad luck, does that become a psychological thing in players' minds?
I don't know. I mean, it's a long time ago where I used to believe magpies and squirrels and what else do we look at? Anything we can see that used to bring us good luck. But I know, if your goalkeeper drops a ball, it's probably nothing to do with the magpie, I would imagine, or you miss one from 2 yards. I think as a manager and coaching staff, we explore every possibility to look back and think, how do we prepare? How do we set ourselves up for the game? Did we press too high? Did we not press high enough? And if you can tick all them boxes, which we do on a Friday afternoon, so that we've prepared to the maximum, the players know exactly what we want from them, and sometimes you just don't carry that out. So when last season we looked at it all, that the players didn't lack confidence. We didn't approach the game any differently away from home. Our line of engagement was exactly the same. And the players knew that and they believed that. And sometimes, decisions, I think our decision making wasn't as good at home. The one stat that stood out to me was where our running stats weren't as high away from home as they were at home. And our high speed running wasn't as high. So whether that's the crowd behind you, whether that's, you feel a little bit more pressure, we don't know. But this year, that's one thing that has been rectified. We are matching our running stats away from home as at home. So perhaps that is what's making the difference.
Obviously, we've seen so many of the Motherwell boys you had during our time together at the club move with you to St Mirren. Not a lot of them there this season now, but they must. All
right, I'll stop you there. You'll be very surprised. I've got Jermaine Hilton training with me tomorrow, who signed for our both are part-time. I've got Jake Carroll training with me as well.
No way.
I had Curtis Meehan training with me for 6 weeks before he went to India. So we must be doing something right, because the boys want to come back. And I think that speaks volumes for the staff. And, hopefully how we treat people is they still want to come and train with us. Jake's recovering from a long-term injury. Jermaine's in part-time football, trying to remain fit as well. So there's still quite a few of them still there. Tony Watt's texting me still. I know I've still got him and Trevor and Decky still as well. We text. So yeah, there's still a good Motherwell connection there anyway.
That was kind of the path I was going down. Was they obviously like your style of management, and you've got that persona with the players. But just for people who obviously don't know what you're like behind the scenes with the players, what kind of manager are you? Are you like straight, like man to man with them and talk to them all the time, or are you quite kind of aloof with them?
No, you can't be. I believe at a smaller club, you have to see people for who they are, and you have to know more about them. If someone's struggling at home, footballers are no different than anybody else. They all have problems. They all have families. They all have wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever it may be. They have problems that they bring into work, and if you can relate to that, or you can help them in any shape or form, ultimately you'll get a better performance on the pitch. So I think again I've evolved with that. I was very black and white before, where you play well and why aren't you playing well, and it was without really a goal where I was trying to get the players to. So now I treat everybody the same, from the ladies that clean the ground, from the ladies that cook, to the groundsman, to the captain of the football club. I'd like to believe they're all given the utmost respect, because without all those small things at a football club, and you were there, Laura, when I do the same meetings at St Mirren, that the importance of the kit man, the importance of every single person at the football club matters when you're looking for small percentages. And I try and give players, I don't get me wrong, I'm very hard, I'm very strict in terms of what I demand of them on the training pitch. But we have a laugh as well. I can laugh at myself. I don't take myself too seriously. I think the players know that. They hate me on a Saturday. Donny always says to me, "You're great Monday to Friday, but we hate you on a Saturday," because I demand so much of them, and I'm so caught up in wanting them to win, and I want them to win and show how good they are. Because you see during the week the effort they've put in. They're great boys who, as I said, don't earn fortunes. They've all got mortgages, they all got kids and families, and just want to see them succeed. So, bar a Saturday, I think all the boys, in or out of the team, I have a very good relationship with, past and present.
I think that's definitely evident even from our time working together at Motherwell, because it was especially during the COVID years, and it felt really like we were one unit, whether it was obviously the media team off the pitch or the players in the squad. We kind of, the club together, it just came together, and it meant everyone felt as one, didn't it? That's so important.
That was the success of Motherwell. I think I've created this again at St Mirren, where the players I recruit are, we study them in depth in terms of their personalities. Are they coachable? Is there egos? I don't do egos. It's a team, and the individuals will shine within that team. And that's my philosophy, and I've always done that. And I remember saying to Aldo, the kit man at Motherwell, what do you do in the morning? And Aldo was very bland. I put the kit out. So no, you're a percentage, and a big percentage, in us being very, very successful. And I think it's important every member of staff knows that their bit that they perceive as small is a massive. I said to the cleaning lady, Mo, at the training ground, you do it really, really well. Brilliant. I'm in at 7:30 in the gym. Everything's spotless. She's in there at 6:30 in the morning. Everything's spotless. The boys don't see the work that goes into making it look like that, but she's as important as Mark O'Hara, the captain. And that sounds ridiculously stupid, but it isn't, because all those small bits at a club the size of ourselves need to come together to be successful.
I think just definitely watching St Mirren so much of the time, it does feel like a cohesive unit on the park. And you mentioned Mark O'Hara there by name, because he's always a player, not just in terms of the way that he plays, but the way that he carries himself. He just looks like such a leader on the park, and the way that in big games as well, his mentality looks like it comes to the fore, and he really relishes those occasions, and he, brings the rest of the team around him, and they rally around. And we've had some billboard results in recent times of thinking of being one of the few teams to beat Ange Postecoglou's Celtic in recent seasons as well. But across the board, it's borne out in the results as well, because you look at last season, that was St Mirren's highest league finish since, I think it was 1985, when Frank McAvenny was the top goal scorer that season. So, I mean, that's incredible, but that's also kind of what you did at Motherwell as well. It takes a few seasons, but you build this platform for success. And I'm just wondering where you see that going with St Mirren specifically, because, it seems to me where they've been in the last number of seasons or for last number of decades or whatever is a team that's probably towards the bottom end of the top flight. Maybe they've gone through more difficult seasons and they've dipped down into the Championship and they come back up or whatever. But, when you hear people like Tony Fitzpatrick, who's always said things like, we want to be top six and we want to be pushing for cups and doing that stuff. Sometimes people have laughed at him or other people at the club with that level of ambition. But is that kind of what you guys are pushing towards? Because it looks like it's starting to get there on the pitch.
Well, I mean, when we first came in, I didn't realise, I didn't realise that St Mirren had probably spent more time in the Championship than they had in the Premier League. So it was a bit of a surprise to me. The club has gone through a real transition in the last, 16, 18 months since I've been here. When I first came in, there was a lot of things that were, looking positive, were the league position, but actually we're only 4 points off 10th. So and heard a squad that I believe needed more pace and energy into it. The club itself, with a training ground that wasn't functioning properly, with an academy and a first team who didn't train together. A lot of this was due to COVID as well. There was a lot of good plans in place about the training ground that weren't finished. The academy trained at night, and then the academy stripped bare so that we survived. We had a lot of financial problems, 1.6 million debts. So we've actually taken a whole, like Motherwell, we built the whole football club. We believe we're building a football club, and small things, chipping away constantly at small things to make the club better. And now I think that there's a real togetherness with the academy training at the same time as the first team. Young boys coming across and interacting, even having the kids there doing their jobs and mingling in with the first team. It's the club's building slowly but surely. I think expectations are high. They're very difficult to keep meeting because we only have a certain amount of fans. Like at Motherwell, there was only a certain amount of season tickets. So I think Keith and the board, I don't think, I know they don't want to go into that kind of debt again. So we have to do it prudently. The club, every manager wants more players. You want better equipment. We've put a couple of new ice baths in. They cost 120 quid each, by the way. We put new weights in. We've put a new leg weight system in. We've got another analyst. We've got an analyst who we didn't have last year. We've done all the analysis ourselves. So for me, that's building the football club, and gradually making it a sustainable, first of all, an SPL club, and then hopefully knocking into that top six. We know how hard it is. You've got 5 clubs that are, should be probably on paper guaranteed to take those places straight away. We all know who these are, and they have a huge fan base and they're able to spend a lot more money because of that huge fan base, and rightly so. And investors, we don't have a single investor, one man or one group that can throw money at it. So it all has to be generated. So it's a process that, I believe is really going in the right direction. We've managed to get into the top 6, as you rightly pointed out, for the first time. And it's now about sustaining that. That's the hard bit. And the hard bit I've found is, so the board are constantly trying to help me, but they can't throw millions of pounds at it, so they give me a transfer fee this year, which was probably the first time in probably St Mirren's history, so we spent 100 grand, and that was with a sponsor putting money into that as well to get Conor McMenamin. But the playing budgets remained the same because, if you weigh the playing budget up in terms of our crowds and what we generate off the pitch, then it has to be at that level as much as we want it to be more. So it's about maximising what we've got, and building the football club. And I know when I leave this football club, for whatever reason, it will be in a much better position than what I inherited. And I'd like to think the same was done at Motherwell. And, people talk about what do you want to do? I want to leave St Mirren, or continue to work, obviously, with St Mirren, like I left Motherwell, in a much better financial position. And hopefully healthier on and off the football pitch.
Such a big part of that as well, all that success off the pitch, is obviously down to Keith Leslie since he took over. How's that dynamic been since he is now your boss, but he was your assistant at Motherwell?
I know, yeah, it's been fine, but I as I say, I treat people with respect all the time anyway. So Keith's the boss. He's done extremely well. He came in the middle of a storm. He inherited the same as myself. Didn't realise there was that many debts, and we needed to. His idea was he was going to come in, build the academy, all the football side of it. And Keith actually ended up having to get caught up in all the finances and redundancies and rebuild the football club. Get it to a level it could exist, and then start building. Obviously the success on the pitch has helped. Player sales, we brought in a lot of player sales in the last 6-7 months for not massive fees, but continually bringing in 200 grand and 50 grand here and there as well from younger players. So Keith's now got a real handle on that, working closely with the board, and I think he's thriving. He's enjoying it. He's actually probably enjoying the non-football side of it a lot more. So I'll take that as a compliment that he trusts me on the football side and he's not too involved in the football side. But no, the dynamic's fine. I've got the utmost respect for Keith. He's done a great job, and we don't have a crossword. He puts his opinion on the team. I use every drop of knowledge that he's got, and him and Dermot sit there and discuss what we do. And the same, he'll ask my advice on some things out with the football side of things. So I think the dynamic's excellent and works really well alongside the rest of the board.
It definitely seems to be. I mean, we're often on the podcast praising St Mirren for a lot of the initiatives that they do and for the good work that they do in their community. And I think one of the best aspects, or one of the easiest aspects to see the kind of the health of the club and the way that it's growing in this positive way, is looking at the attendances and looking at the way that they were one of the major clubs, St Mirren, in almost like taking hold of their own fan base and wanting to cater to them maybe than to other supports, and that's been borne out in such a positive way, where there are record attendances and season ticket sales and all of that kind of stuff. That's surely got to be a positive thing, or a reciprocal thing, for the players then going out on a Saturday with such an involved and excited home support.
Yeah, it's home and away. I have to say, like, Saturday travelled in their numbers. It was fantastic. We took a really big crowd again to Hibs. in our last away game. The crowd have been fantastic. You know, the bond between the players and the fans have been fantastic, and you can see that. You can see all I ever asked. I remember when I first came in, and I didn't start very well. I think I lost 7 out of 8 when I first came in, and they gave me the microphone on the pitch at the end of the season, and I really, really didn't want it. Laura knows I don't do too many of these things. I've actually done 2 in a week, so I don't know what's going on with me. But they give me the microphone. I said, look, the one thing I'll promise you is I will give you a team that plays for the badge. That plays for the badge and not the name on the back. And, you know, I think they see that. The boys give everything. The team as a collective run their socks off. They'll die for the badge, and, you know, individuals will shine within that. And if you're a fan and you pay your money, hard-earned money, that doesn't come easy to come and watch a game of football, you know that they're trying their best, and sometimes it doesn't produce a result you want, and sometimes performances and levels of performances aren't what you want. But if someone's given absolutely everything to the cause, and you know that as a fan in the stand, then, you know, that's all you want. As a fan, if you wanted to put that shirt on, you'd run yourself into the ground, and that's what my players do. And I think they can feel that connection. They see that there's a lot of quality there as well. You know, I'm underestimating the amount of quality we have in the squad, but first and foremost, they give everything for the team and the badge and St Mirren Football Club. So it's I can understand why the fans want to come and watch. I can see the passion between the players and the fans and the staff, and it's great to see at this moment in time. Yeah.
There's Scott Tanser! What a finish from the St Mirren left back. Well, this game needed a moment of magic to split the two teams. That's a superb finish from Scott Tanser.
Lovely chat there, guys. It's brilliant when we get top guests like that on the podcast. I really like it. But Motherwell obviously lost 1-0 to St Mirren, didn't they? And it was a great goal from Tanser, Finn. Absolutely lovely. Yeah, I thought the delivery in from the right was fantastic, but it's such a difficult skill to hit it on the volley on the left foot. And obviously there was the miserable VAR potential decision of an offside, but he was on, which was great. But yeah, I mean, first league defeat for Motherwell, so they'll be annoyed with that. But St Mirren have been going great guns, and we spoke about it a little in the interview with Stephen Robinson there. He has helped turn them into quite a formidable side at home, but they're actually matching that with away form this season as well, because with the form they've been in, Motherwell are a really hard team to beat right now. And yeah, they were, I think he even said they didn't play particularly well and they still got the 3 points. So it's really encouraging for Buddies fans, the start that they've made to the season. And long may it continue. It's wonderful to see teams like this playing so well. Says the local boy from Paisley. Yes, consistency is king. Consistency is king. Rangers beat St Johnstone 2-0. Obviously, we spoke about them earlier on in Europe this week. Celtic also in Europe, 3-0 winners against Dundee. Hearts beat Aberdeen 2-0. We spoke about Robson in trouble. But Kilmarnock, 2-2 draw with Hibs. Nick Montgomery's first game in charge for Hibs. We all know Hibs are really good going forward. I think it's the defensive frailties where Nick Montgomery's got his work cut out for him. Because I think one of the stats that you'd shared with us, Laura, was that only Celtic have outscored Hibs this season, but Hibs have shipped the most goals in the league, which is 10. So there's that. I don't think there's any issues for them going forward, and they took a 2-0 lead, but to let that slip and to let Kelly come in. But then you've got to say on the flip side, again, this mentality that Derek McInnes is instilling into this Kelly side, which is something they haven't had since Clark was there a number of seasons ago, is really impressive, because they're still chipping away, taking points here and there where they can. They've had a couple of good scalps against the Old Firm this season, so yeah, he's doing a great job down there this season too. And a classic 1-1 draw between Ross County and Livingston, Laura. Two teams that are pretty much in solid form, to be fair, as well.
Yep. Was it 1 defeat and 5 for Livy? Ross County have only lost to Celtic and Rangers as well, which is actually got a good start to the season for both of them. Livy had a nightmare trying to get to this game as well. Their bus broke down at Aviemore, and Ross County had to send their bus down to pick them up. So the game was a little bit delayed, bit of a nightmare for them. But they went home with a point, so it could have been worse.
See, just one extra thing about all the games in the Premiership this season. I was saying this to you, Laura. I don't know why it just struck me, but every single match I was watching, I was like, oh, those kits look good. It was just like, it was one of those matchups where like all the home and away kits or the two home kits that were playing each other just looked so good. And even just, I was thinking about it there in my mind's eye, the Ross County Livy game, like just that, you know, that gold and the dark blue, and it looked really good. Yeah, it was a great weekend for football kits. If not necessarily for action, I've some of the standard of the football in the County Livy game wasn't potentially top tier, but yeah, still both sides are making the best, I think.
Yeah, talking of standard of quality, Finn, you were joking about Morton's equaliser against Dundee United. What was that? What was going on there?
I think the technical term for it is a comedy of errors. It was just an absolute shambles at the back from Dundee United. There was like looped balls over the tops. A goalkeeper comes out, defender tries to head it back, it kind of bounces and loops over, and then there's Robbie Muirhead basically just with the easiest goal he'll ever score to knock it in for a point for Morton. So yeah, Dundee United will be kicking themselves to give a goal away like that.
I think what was even more of a shambles was Callum Waters' Oscar-winning performance for the red card against Mati Cujo. Did you see this?
Yeah, it was pretty rubbish as well.
Claims he's had a swipe taken out at him. He's nowhere near him. He's not touched him, and he's just absolutely, for such a small boy, has went down like an absolute sack of tatties. It's embarrassing.
Oh, really? Is it just one? Is just one of those old camera one jobbies, or is there any other angles that you see that clearly?
You only really need camera one.
Yeah,
jobbies,
it's so obvious.
Amazing. I'm going to.
There's no debate in that one.
What happened in League One?
Oh, Edinburgh City are the proper whipping boys right now, aren't they? No points yet this season. They're on a minus 11 for goal difference and got hammered again at the weekend, losing 5-2 to Montrose. It's an easy money if you're betting, if you're putting a coupon on across the divisions, is go for whoever Edinburgh City are playing for.
Reverting back to their old name hasn't really helped them this season, has it?
Well, I was just about to suggest maybe they flip it back to FC Edinburgh and see if that helps their form any in the league. You know, you never know.
Great example. Do not fix what is not broken.
Yeah, amazing. League Two, Finn, can you tell us what's happened there?
It's still pretty grim reading for Clyde fans. They lost again 2-0 to East Fife, and they're
but they had all the Hamilton Accies fans at the game celebrating, supporting us. They had a good turnout.
Yeah. I mean, they've got 2 points from their opening 6 games, another stadium move. They're at the Challenge Cup to non-league opposition. It's looking pretty grim. I mean, the prospect of facing a second successive relegation is just, they seem to be in a bit of free fall. So really worrying times for them. I mean, there's still plenty of time to turn it around, as we've said so many times, but it's pretty grim reading.
Have you seen the top half of the table though? For League Two, it's looking good. So Steny are sitting second top. They beat Stranraer 5-0 at the weekend, but it's really tight. You've got Bonnyrigg, Stenhousemuir, Dumbarton, and Stranraer all on 11 points. Peterhead are on 10 points. I mean, we talked about how good the Championship was all last season. League Two could be going the same way. You can't split them right now.
It'll change. It will change. that League Two, like there's not. The only consistency comes from the eventual winners. Trust me, there'll be a few drop-offs. Absolutely.
I'm going to hold out hope it's going to be as exciting as the Championship last year. I'm the positive voice this week.
You are very hopeful this week.
You're both miserable this week. Come on.
It's unnerving. Well, it's currently midnight in Jeddah right now, and I've got a flight at 5 a.m. So thanks for dragging me onto the podcast this week, guys. That is us for another week. I'm going to try and catch some kip and hopefully fly safely home in the morning. But yeah, try and catch us on YouTube. Follow us there. Get us on any of your podcast platforms. Tell your pals, tell your ma, tell your pa, and tell your cat and your dog. That'd be lovely. That's it for us. What do I say now? Yeah, go and listen to something else now. Bye.